それより俺の技の方が何回も水入ってるよ。
What you are about to listen to is a preview for our first deep dive at the prescription. We are going to take a journey to the 90s to take a peek, to understand, to study, to pay tribute to honor the Super Juniors. We are going to look at the trilogy of tournaments that defined a generation of pro wrestling. We're going to look at the Super J Cup 94, the Super J Cup 95, and the J Crown Championship Tournament that took place in 94, 95, and 96. All the wrestlers who participated in it, all the companies that participated in it, all the titles involved in it, all the history, all the stories, everything. And we're about to listen to a sampling of what's to come and a couple of people who we talked to. This is done by me. This is done by Larry. This is done by Arturo. This is done by JML. And this is done for me. This is done for the wrestling fans. This is done for those who like history and those who want to take a look back and those who want to know why wrestlers wrestle the way they do. Take a listen and enjoy. This is just a preview. We got a lot to come. We got a lot to cover.
Like what's coming in
Thank
from
you.
that picture on your TV and recording it to VHS, which is not the greatest format in the world, right? And if you're like the problem with these shows is these shows take like more than 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes. So you can't record in the VHS had like different modes. You can't record in the most advanced format. You have to record in the format that's like going 4 to 6 hours so essentially you end up with like a lower grade grainy recording of this stuff, and you only have one go at it. It's not like they're gonna show this shit. Like, this is why Dave was saying, hey, they're going to show this match next week, right? They show the clips. They're going to show this match on this entirety. And Dave putting that out on the newsletter is how somebody, hypothetically like me, could get on with a VCR, set it up properly, hook it up properly. Like, like I'm an engineer. Like figure out how to hook it up so like you get the signal.
I hit the button, but I think I was listening to Chris Charlton from he was talking about the J Cup a couple of years ago. He said that Liger it was his idea to be inspired by that All-Star show in the 70s with Inoki and Baba teaming up, and he wanted to do something like that, but a junior heavyweight version of it. It was a lot different because this was a one-night tournament, but that was kind of his inspiration, kind of getting everyone together in an all-star format.
Yeah, so like in the parade of guests I'm having in here, I have a guy who was originally supposed to be part of like the breakdown with me, JML, Arturo, BJ, but he's here now. What's up, Drew?
Hey, what's going on, Doc? Happy to be here to discuss some J Cup. I know that there's some audio that you previously done with some very, very great figures in JML and Arturo, and I know that's going to blow people away. I'm happy to contribute however I
Yeah,
can.
man. So I wanted to bring you on those shows because you have a love of pro wrestling in general,
I do.
but you actually do know
Enjoy.
like your history of pro wrestling. And that's why I brought you here because the Super J Cup 94, what it means to pro wrestling and the individuals who took part in it. I know some individuals in there, your Chris Benoit's, your Dean Malenko's, Eddie Guerrero's, Eiji
Chris
Azaki,
Jericho.
Chris Jericho, that's like Super J Cup 95. Even in 95, you also have like guys who went in there in 94, like, Ultimo Dragon. Uh, it's Damien say. You know, the big thing about Super J Cup 95, of course, was also the big Rey Mysterio Psychosis like showcase
The
match.
all-time great.
And
Yeah.
like when it comes to like this style of pro wrestling, the cruiserweights, the junior heavyweights, and on WCW they used to call them the light heavyweights. What is it about this style of pro wrestling that, you know, it always has that international flair? Because I remember when I was a kid, 1993, I see Brian Pillman and I see him face this guy in a mask called Jushin Liger, and I'm like, why do they not sell the Jushin Liger toy on in the store? In the store,
Gosh,
why do I only have Sting and Ron Simmons? I want Great Muta and I want Liger. But you know,
because of misunderstanding coming away that saying that international figures wouldn't take off in the American market. And boy, could they be more wrong, considering that we're still talking about Eddie Guerrero, we're still talking about Rey Mysterio, we're still talking about Psychosis, we're still talking about Juventud, we're still talking about all of these figures from different cultures that provided something to the game of professional wrestling that made their mark within the cruiserweight division. And some of those guys that I just mentioned were figures that played in the Super J Cup. And with that is you talk about some of the great, if not the greatest tournaments that's ever taken place in professional wrestling, the greatest tournaments that have ever taken place in professional wrestling. Now you can go back to your classic G1s and you can say, yeah, this, that, and the third, and hell yeah, man. I watched those New Japan, 2010s G1s like everybody else. And I think those are some of the greatest performances ever done. But in a knockout round circuit, especially whenever you have two figures that have left such an impression on me that I have carried for my entire life, considering I was, 7, 8, 9, whenever I finally got my hands on those tapes. Um, and finally saw uh, Ultimo Dragon and Great Sasuke, right? Liger, individuals that mean something to me on a level because of their personal styles. And that might be odd coming from a guy who's now 6'3", 230 pounds of, oh, how do you identify with these guys? And I say, well, yeah, you're just looking at the
also,
high.
ladies and gentlemen, he's also handsome. He also has long hair,
Oh,
strong
stop it.
hairline. Yo,
I do have a strong hairline. Um, digressing is this. Hey man, I'm trying to wax poetic about Ultimo Dragon and Great Sasuke. Just give me a minute, okay?
making you
You're
blush.
talking
That's what
about
I do, man. I
figures.
make you blush. That's what I do.
You definitely do that. So Great Sasuke is coming up here, and a figure in which needs to be promoted more for his importance. And I understand that Ultimo walked away with a lot of belts, and it was a major storyline and the image that we see coming down, even all the way to the point in which that they're having to even acknowledge it because of Mercedes,
Yeah.
right? So because she reenacted that image that is so historically prevalent of Ultimo Dragon holding his arms out with 10 belts. There's something to that. And there's a reason why all of those things occurred. And yeah, a lot of politics happened. A lot of people were trying to get their guy all of those belts because everybody was involved. It was a classic thing in which one wrestler walked away with the promotion's belt and they wanted it back and they were trying to figure out how to get that belt back from that wrestler, and they said, how do we do it without burying him, because promoters weren't going to allow him to wrestle if they were going to bury him, and there used to be integrity to that where promoters used to stand up for their wrestlers. So you go through this match and you see Gato. Gato became the booker in New Japan. The vast majority, El Samurai, most of the wrestlers there are some level of great importance. And you can look and say, oh, look at this. This is what promoted all of the stupid flying in professional wrestling. Sure, but you're also missing the mark on what Michinoku Pro meant and the work shoot style evolution that came that just adjoined high flying
You
style.
know,
Because as much as these guys did all of your 450s, they also hit you really hard.
yeah, professional wrestling Southern California legend Ultra Taro. What's up, Kevin?
And I also have
Good
with
to be here.
me SoCal promoter of Epic Pro LA. What's up, Andrew? Andrew's also
Robin
been like
Williams.
hello.
Robin Williams and Mrs. Doubtfire.
Hey, Andrew's one of those guys who
Hello.
was a big wrestling fan in the LA, in the PWG scene. He was actually part of the PWG crew. I'm so jealous of you. I wish I would have talked to one of the guys and said like, hey, I love wrestling too. Could I get one of those "Don't Call Me Dynamite" shirts? But anyway, I brought them here because I wanted to talk about the thing that we're talking about for these big groups of shows is of course the 30th anniversary of the J Crown, the 8 belts that came together to form it from different companies like UWA, like Michinoku, like the non-existent British Commonwealth belts that all ended up in Michinoku, the CMLL,
Isn't there a
NWA
WWF belt
titles.
in there too?
Yeah, the
WWF.
WWF light heavyweight title. The one that, of course, Tiger Mask and Tatsumi Fujinami and those guys wore. It's a very interesting time because we see a lot of like the collaboration coming into like this belt, but you gotta start somewhere, and where we're starting with is Super J Cup 1994. And Kev, man, I know you were a big fan. I remember like on our episode you were talking about how you grew up getting into wrestling and how you eventually found like the tapes of like Lucha. You found Lucha on TV, and then you saw
Yes.
Liger on WCW. And so Super J Cup 94, can you explain to people on the tape who love to do tape trading what this tape actually meant to the wrestling fans at the time?
This was like the Super J Cups, the 94 and 95, were like the holy grail of tapes for people back then, because it's just like it was such just high quality wrestling. And for the American fans, it seems like the narrative always was like, we love the New Japan Juniors and we love the All Japan Heavyweights. We love Kawada, we love Misawa, but in New Japan we love Liger, we love Samurai, as we're talking about later, and all these guys. And luckily for myself in LA, we can get the New Japan and All Japan TV tapes at Japanese video stores.
Absolutely.
And I think part of the actual J Cup was on New Japan TV. I want to say I asked Chad to do the research to confirm that. But the thing is,
because I think it did air on
was out.
It did air on TV Asahi on the satellite.
Okay,
I saw that.
But still, you're not getting the entire show.
No.
And so it was like, how do we get the show? And like I said, it was like those two shows. I'd say the the original Jacob 94, the Jacob 95, and the IWJ King of the Deathmatch tournament in 95. Those are the three Japanese holy grails for American collectors in the mid-90s. It's obviously because when you see that footage of the IWA shows with Cactus Jack, Terry Funk showing up, even on American television, it's just like, we gotta see this. We gotta see what this is. And that was the biggest platform for the juniors in Japan. It showed they could draw. The New Japan juniors were like, I can't see an afterthought, but they weren't a draw. They sold out at Sumo Hall twice for the first two New Japan, for the J Cups. In 94 was New Japan. WAR ran the J Cup in 95. And apparently, I think both sold out those shows, 11,000 people, which is crazy because it wasn't always a junior culture. In fact, the same day as the first J Cup show in 94, I think All Japan was running a show the same
Champion
day
Carnival finals
at Budokan Hall and sold out Budokan Hall 16,000 people. So you had like almost 30,000 people watching wrestling the same day in Tokyo. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's different culturally how wrestling fans are over there. But regardless, you have all of you watching Japanese wrestling the same day.
Yeah. And like the Super J Cup actually 94 sold out before any
any lineup was announced.
Right.
Like tickets went on sale and it's sold out. And
Yeah.
that's
Japan
so
was
crazy.
hot, and this is the first time they did something like this. And then the prize, what the wrestler got me was a trophy and like a
WWF
original
title
jacket that Fujinami had. It was a Fujinami jacket, if I remember right.
Yeah, the Fujinami jacket and
like,
the WWF light heavyweight belt.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
It's so cool, like what you would get, and I love the matches on this because it's very collaborative. Michinoku Pro was about like what, a year into in existence, and it sent like Super Delphin, Sasuke over to work. You had guys
was
over
on there too.
Yeah, Taka was on there. You had guys from
But
War,
this is
like
what made
Ghetto.
great Sasuke. That show made great Sasuke. Like the fact that Liger did what he did for him was like, you know, Liger was a very unselfish booker because he was the one who was booking all that stuff. And I'm like, brilliant. You make a new superstar at the expense of yourself.
I am here with Bahu FMW, or as I call him, Brett. Hey, Brett.
Hey.
Hey, so I've been in contact with Brett because he's one of my favorite like historians when it comes to pro wrestling, and I know he's one of those guys that's you go to because what your screen name is Bahu FMW.
Yeah,
so it's right there in the screen name. We're talking about the J Cup and during his J Crown 30th anniversary series, and I thought it would be great to bring on someone with such deep FMW knowledge, and also Brett actually has for sale a translated version of the Great Sasuke book from 1995 on his website, which I think is pretty pertinent to the discussion that we're having today. And yeah, man.
So for Sasuke going into New Japan, it was mostly him just being too small. And so New Japan had this rule, and it's actually indirectly kind of led to Hayabusa joining FMW because Mr. Ganasuke, Hayabusa's friend, couldn't join New Japan because he was too small. I mean, Hayabusa and Sabu end up loving each other as well later on and being like really good friends. But and then fast forward to late '93, and Onita sends Hayabusa to Mexico, and it's like, well, when am I coming back? And he goes, we don't know. Whenever you're ready. And so Hayabusa goes to Mexico, goes to Tijuana, but yeah, so he just had kind of learned Lucha Libre a little bit at this time. He had not really worked that much. And like I said, he has all this anxiety, the whole plane ride, and he actually gets to he gets to Sumo Hall, and he's nervous. We were talking about earlier that Ricky Choshu, because Ricky Choshu's around, he's running, and he's worried that Choshu's going to find out that he did that university wrestling back in 91, let's say before that, 87, 88, 89. And he's if he finds out, he thinks he's going to get kicked out because of like that taboo-ness of like, no, New Japan is not going to have college, university people that did that kind of stuff. And so
to the Americans, like, we're not going to have this this backyard or this mud show.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you done backyard and like we're not that kind of promotion. We're not, So he was freaking out over that. And so he ends up having the match with Liger. Again, does the attack, the very famous, tope con hilo at the beginning of the match. And he ends up, pulling out everything, does the shooting star press, does that, trying like that reverse Hurricane Rana that gets turned into a Liger bomb, and ends up, again, standing out. I think, I think is the best match of the first round.
Yeah.
And that's what,
It's iconic. That's why New Japan puts it on all of their highlight packages for the Super J Cup, when they ever do a junior heavyweight look back. That Hayabusa Liger match is so iconic that they always put it on there. I have someone that I've respected in pro wrestling spaces for the last 2 decades. I have with me here, he hosts the Pacific Rim podcast. He is, of course, from the Wrestling Observer. I have Jim Valley. Hello, sir.
How are you? It's good to see you. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
And it's kind of crazy. You kind of like bring up the guys who are their Patriots, like
Koji Kanemoto, we got Chris Benoit, we got Black Tiger 2 and Eddie Guerrero, we got Dean Malenko popping in from time to time. And like I believe like one of the first guys that the first title defense of the cruiserweight title was in New Japan that Shinjiro Tani had against one Mr. Chris Benoit. We know the cruiserweight title, of course, was part of those 10 belts that White Ultimo Dragon had at the time. But it's all tied together. Of course, also Jushin Liger was the winner, had won the WCW light heavyweight title, which was a precursor to the WCW cruiserweight title. So we got two guys here who have won WCW gold, fighting for the belts here.
And people often remember, Liger coming in '91 to WCW and feuding with Brian Pillman over what was then the light heavyweight title. Liger has been a sensation for a long time, and you mentioned his coming back from brain surgery and things.
Yeah.
But the guy, Keiji Yamada, is a gym rat or a dojo rat. He lives during his prime and his active years. He lived for the most part in dojos, the New Japan dojos. He was always there, either literally lived or figuratively spent so much time there. Both lived with quotes and not quotes. That guy is, committed to fitness. And I think that's some of the reason why he lasted so long and some of the reasons why he was able to come back from, brain surgery like you talked about. The guy was an animal. Go back and watch him in World of Sport. Is Flying Fuji.
Garrett, man, you were about to tell us a really cool story.
So I met the great Sasuke in 2015. I think that's the time, because he has a movie about himself, a documentary that they released it in San Jose at one of the artsy theaters that I don't even know if it exists anymore. It may. And a friend of I wouldn't say that we're necessarily friends, but he was a subscriber, and so he knows Dave. He invited Dave and my Fight Game podcast partner, John LaRocca, and myself to come to this viewing and to basically be in the audience with Great Sasuke as he watched this movie about himself. And so he
thought that's
definitely
pretty cool.
recognized
I was always going to really bring to it, but that's wild. I didn't realize there was even a documentary about the great Sasuke. But when you have great as your first name, the great as your first name, you should have a documentary about yourself.
Yeah, Great Sasuke. That documentary is of course free on a lot of streamers. It's free on Tubi, it's free on Roku, but it's also free on YouTube. Go ahead and check that out. Link will be in the description. Thank you, Garrett, for joining us for I'm putting on our Super J Cup 94 promo stuff. So thank you, Garrett. I do have here with me noted pro wrestling historian, noted big pro wrestling fan, noted great guy, Cat Daddy. We have with us Roy Lucier. Hey, Roy. This question for you, man. How did you get backstage to get that picture with Inoki and all the other guys? Because, that's so fascinating to me. Because that World Peace Festival, because I remember, I probably was, 11 when I saw, the ads for it, in the local newspaper. And I begged my parents to go to that. I begged them because I was like, I get to see the Giant in person and Sting. And then they're like, no, you can't. But you got to actually go to that, man. And you got to take that picture with Inoki and all those guys. How did that come about?
Not only that, Inoki signed a whole bunch of magazines for me. So I still got a lot here. And the crazy thing is, Inoki had just got done fighting Great Muda. So I want to say at WrestleCon last year, when I saw Muda, he signed what Inoki signed, because Muda was on the cover. He signed it as well.
That's awesome.
So I went, there was a press conference, and if you look at the Inoki photo on the bottom left, you'll see the date. I think it's January 11th, 1996, and that's 5 months before the Peace Festival. I went to the press conference with a stack of magazines, and that the press conference was Pena, KGB, Jesse Hernandez, Billy Anderson, Antonio Inoki, Steve Nakata, a couple other people, whatever. And I knew about the press conference because Meltzer told me. So I get there to the press conference. I got a stack of magazines, and I'm asking Inoki, so you're going to have Michinoku Pro here. Are you going to have Super Delphine? Are you going to have Great Sasuke? You're going to have all – and, oh, my God, maybe you'll have All Japan. Can Baba be here? Can Misawa be here? And I'm saying this in the press conference in front of the whole room and shit like that. Inoki and Steve Nakata actually pulled me to the side afterwards and goes, you know Japan? I was like, yeah, I know Japan. I know Mexico. I know all this stuff. Inoki and Steve Nakata gave me their phone number, and they took down my phone number. And that's where I got the photo, was at that press conference. Steve Nakata got a hold of me right afterwards, and he said, listen, we really need to sell tickets for this event. There's a local cable radio show called Squared Circle. At the time, there was this black guy, James Boone, the Shadow Man, that was hosting it. And what Nakata said was, Inoki wants you to host the show 2 weeks and the week before the Peace Festival happens. And we've already talked to Mr. Boone, and, you can do this. So I drove to Studio City 2 weeks straight, and I hosted the show, and I talked about all the big names from the Peace Festival, these luchadors that are going to be there. Jushin Liger, Great Sasuke, Negro Casas. I talked about everybody for 2 weeks leading up to the show. And for doing that, Inoki and Steve Nakata gave me front row tickets to the show. So if you watch the Negro Casas Hijo de Santo match, I'm all over the place on that show. I was 21, maybe 22 years old at the time. No, I was 21. And then afterwards, Inoki told me, come to the hotel. We're at the New Otani Hotel. So I went to the hotel afterwards, and that's where all these photos took place with all these people. I mean, I met Akira Hokuto. I met Yoshiaki Fujiwara. I mean, pretty much everyone that wrestled on it. Fujinami. I met everybody there. Me and Oleg Taktarov, that's the first time I ever went to Cape Cod, was Oleg Taktarov was buying them for everyone at the table.
The biggest stars from all over the world come to Sumo Hall and prove who is the best junior heavyweight wrestler in the world, like an actual World Cup. And it's funny because we're in the midst of the World Cup right now, and I thought it'd be fitting to, why not call the Super J Cup 32 years. This was something that people think about. What if this wrestler from this company came in, and all these other wrestlers from this part of the world came in, and we figure out who was the best of the best?